Today, May the 15th, is the anniversary of the Nakba, called the catastrophe in Arabic. And this is really the case in point that the events of October the 7th did not begin. In fact, this conflict did not begin on October the 7th. It was far, far beyond that date. The Nakba is in Palestinian and, in fact, global conscious human memory a day or an event or a year of extreme injustice against a population of the Palestinian people. This really began in 1947 when the Israeli Jewish Zionist gangs emerged of the Hergan, the Stern, and the Haganah, which became in the IDF. And these were militias, gangs who were forced Palestinians from their homes. Just imagine forcing someone from their homes. Imagine being forced from your home. These were Palestinian farmers, laborers, workers, people who lived for centuries on that land. Their work, their capitals, their estates, their farming, their farmlands, their families were all in that land. And then to be forced from that land to make space for a Jewish people, to make it a Jewish only homeland. And so Palestinians, up to 1 million, were removed from their land with no right of ever returning back to their land. In fact, many of the lands today, I mean, all of course, occupied Palestine, uh, present day Israel, was once a Palestinian homeland. I mean, Palestinians lived in those lands. Those farmlands of Sidrosh, Ashkelon are all Palestinian farmlands. And so they forcibly removed Palestinians from their homes. But more than that, not only violent expulsion and rape and murder happening along the way, but they also destroyed the land and its monuments and its historical heritage to ensure that people don't see this as ever being in. And these are archival evidences of Israelis themselves saying the same things, that we will transform the land so that it will not be a seem or appear as if Arabs ever lived on this land. And so therefore they built on the land, shopping malls and forests and all these things to make it appear that these hundreds of villages that were destroyed in Palestine are then Hebraized, or like given a Hebrew identity, and they changed the names of the places to make it seem as if Arabs weren't ever there. And then they carried the myth that this is a land without a people, for a people without a land. Of course, the Israelis, the Jews in that land, inherited the land that was already Palestinians, and they took their estates and their money and that was already there, and then they built on that. It's a horrific, depraved agenda setting of such depraved people. And then people began to write about this. Like, for example, S. Yizhar, in his work, Kirbet Kizeh, which is historical fiction on the Nakba. And in fact, he used a pen name because he was Jewish, used a pen name. I mean, Kirbet Kizeh is a real Palestinian territory. It's a village that was ransacked and destroyed, and the people were expelled. And then these new European settlers came along and stole the land and took the. And he says in his text that won't the walls scream when these settlers take their place in those rooms? Won't the air scream? Like, he's making this evocative imagery to show, therefore, that this is a tragedy, a travesty of justice against an innocent people. And so therefore the violent expulsion of the people, destroying of artifacts, destroying of monuments, tombstones of mosques, renaming of villages, of cities, like the cities of Tiberias. More than 20 villages of Tiberias were all destroyed. Giving new names of places, like Hittin is called Kafar Hatem, for example, those important places of historical memory from the Crusades and even before and after that, but those are destroyed. And then creating, massacres against Muslims, against Palestinians, like the famous one of Deir Yassin, but there are others as well, of just, massacring, slaughtering people and leaving them to die, but then destroying the landscape and the presence around them. And this is why this is an important day for the world to remember that the events of what's happening now did not begin on October the 7th. They began much before that. And it's those crimes of these Israelis that we have to really, not just of course their genocide, the horrific genocide and depravity of what they're doing now in Gaza, that the world is seeing that, and the world is seeing that, and the world is seeing that. But of course, this is a long backdated. They've done it for a very long time, and the people who've suffered the most in this, of course, are the Palestinians. May Allah ease them and aid them and give them success and victory. But this is what's happened. So May the 15th is the date of the Nakba, and these things happened in that time. The forcible removal, the changing of the landscape, the denial of re-entry into Palestine, and destroying of monuments, tombstones, and then the creation of this false rogue state called Israel, off of the back of the sweat and the tears and the living experience, living memory of the Palestinian people.